afternoon and welcome to the last day here at European Utility Week. With me this afternoon I have Sandra Trittin, who is the co-founder and head of business development and marketing for Tiko Energy Solutions. Sandra, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you also to being here with you. Thank you very much.
So you spoke yesterday, I believe it was, yes?
Yes.
Around the startup landscape in Europe. Could you possibly expand a little bit on how startups are operating in this market, how they're changing things in this market?
Yeah. So right now, luckily, we see more and more startups coming into the energy space. Still, for them, it's quite a difficult environment because it's quite conservative industry building on heavy infrastructure. So if you want to bring in new innovations, you do not even have to bring the technology, but you also have to change processes and also the mind of people. But we see we are on a good path there. More and more companies are trying, and it's really great what kind of solutions they bring, not only in terms of technology, but also in terms of services for our future, our energy future. Yeah.
How is regulation within the EU supporting the role of startups?
So if I look at the topic of regulation, it's a bit challenging because regulation is there and to change regulation is quite difficult. So also in our panel yesterday, we came to the conclusion, if you are a startup going into the energy space right now in Europe, don't think that regulation will change fast, or don't build up your business model on the hypothesis that regulation might change at some point in the future. For sure it will, but the prediction on when this exactly is going to happen and to build your business model or your full company based on that assumption, can be really challenging. So the advice I would think is take the regulation as it is today. It's depending if you go more into the technology or service space, if it's more or less challenging, but take it as it is. Yes, have an outlook on how it might be in the future and how this can help you, but in that current environment, you have to bring up your startup and make it grow, right?
And do you think that the regulatory environment as it is makes it difficult for startups to operate, or do you think that they are still managing to make amazing progress regardless?
Yeah, I think it's challenging, right? Because the existing regulation has been built on the technology which is already in place for a long time, and also the market structures which are in place for a long time. So if you bring now in a new technology which starts on challenging that existing market structure or existing technologies, then for sure you come at a point where you clash with existing regulation, right? So this is the point where I would say, yes, for sure, it gives you difficulties, it gives you challenges, but right now there is no way around it, because to change regulation it will take years. Yeah. So yes, for sure, it's difficult, but there are possibilities. We see that also with all the startups in the Initiate Hub and also the growing companies, also like ours here in the energy revolution space. So there are possibilities, but you have to deal with that regulation topic for sure, and it can keep you quite busy.
Sure. I suppose as well, though, it helps that the utilities are open to innovation. I mean, they are looking at how they can change the way they operate. So that does help a little bit, that they are not closed to what startups can bring to the dynamic.
Yeah, I think that has changed, especially through the last 3 or 4 years, that utilities became much more open. Before, they had more the thinking, I do everything myself. Right? I'm a big utility, I have my network department, my technology department, my service department, so yes, I have everything, right? I have all the resources, so why should I not be able to do it myself? Now they see that also the pace of change is increasing. So even if you have all the resources, you also need to align them internally to keep up with that pace, right? And then it's much more easy to look outside and also look what other people are bringing, which are also more open-minded because they are not stuck in their existing working environment.
I always say it's those people that don't know what they don't know.
Exactly. You're fully right.
So one of the things that obviously all of these changes and evolutions and revolutions is bringing is a change in culture, a change in the way we work. How is this affecting utilities? How is it affecting startups? I mean, look, I imagine it's affecting business globally, but specifically in this industry.
Yeah. So I think there are two angles on that one. So you have the utilities, which are more like traditional companies, working also more in a traditional working environment. Now what they do, they have their own startup accelerators, they have their venture arms, which are changing in their working environment. And then on the other side, you have startups, which are often founded by young people. And what I even have to realize at my age, the next generations are working quite different than even I learned it at the beginning. Yeah. And to give you some examples, everything is based on more technology, right? So you're sitting together in an office, and for sure you talk to each other. But now you have all these Skype channels and Slack channels, and you communicate over the social media with each other, which is getting more and more common. I think if you would look for that in any kind of traditional utility, it will be difficult to find. We see that in our company as well. And then it's also, all the teams get much more international. So to give you the example, in our company with 40 people, we have 14 different nationalities, right? So you deal with different cultures. You have to align on one language, at least, where everyone can communicate with. So this is changing totally. And then the last part is also the work-life balance is getting, interestingly, more important again, which is good for the individual health, which is good also for the environment of each individual. But I think probably the last 20 years, it was more like, okay, I go to work and I work like crazy until the late evening, whatever is necessary. Whereas the newer generations are thinking more like, well, I'm happy to work, I'm happy to give all what I can do for the work, but there's also a point where I want to stop to take care of my family and my surrounding life.
I think ultimately that's going to be to the benefit of the companies
as
well.
Yeah.
Because we're not going to be experiencing as much burnout.
People take better care of themselves and also of their health. That's much more in focus, which is good. Because normally as an employer you have a long-term relationship, right, with your employee, and you want to make sure that it's good for the employee first and for the company.
Sandra, thank you so much. I wish that we had more time.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, time is always an issue. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much as well. Thanks.
From European Utility Week, thanks so much for joining us.